Have you ever felt like, well, like something from the past is still kind of tagging along with you? Maybe a lingering resentment or just a flash of old anger?
Oh, absolutely. That feeling, being sort of tethered to past hurts. It's incredibly common.
Yeah.
And often we don't even realize how much energy it's draining from our present.
Well, that's exactly where we're focusing our attention today. This deep dive is all about forgiveness, not in the simple sense, but really digging into what it actually involves.
And how it can unlock, well, a surprising amount of personal healing, genuine freedom, really.
Yeah. So our mission today is to understand that deeper meaning, and its transformative potential.
And right off the bat, I think it's really vital we're clear on something crucial.
Okay.
Exploring forgiveness, it absolutely does not mean we're excusing harmful behavior or, saying that what happened was okay.
Right. That's such a huge misconception, isn't it? We need to sort of dismantle that one straight away.
Exactly.
Forgiveness isn't really a free pass for others. It's something we do for ourselves, ultimately.
Mm-hmm. And to really grasp that, let's talk about the sheer weight of holding on to the past.
Okay.
Think of resentment like carrying a backpack filled with stones.
Yeah.
Each unresolved hurt, each betrayal we keep dwelling on, it's like another heavy rock just added to that load.
And over time, it just gets heavier and heavier.
Right. Without us even consciously deciding, it becomes incredibly burdensome, really slows us down.
Our sources actually give us a pretty powerful illustration of this. There's the story of Sarah.
Ah, yes, the friend's betrayal.
Exactly. She experienced this deep betrayal, and for years, that single moment just kept replaying in her mind, like a loop.
Constantly analyzing, assigning blame.
Yeah, and essentially just reliving the pain over and over.
And what's insightful about Sarah's experience, looking at the sources, is how this emotional weight started to manifest in really tangible ways.
How so?
Well, she found herself becoming more isolated. A kind of bitterness took root, and even her physical well-being suffered. The sources mention things like chronic headaches, sleeplessness, persistent anxiety.
Wow. So it really highlights that connection, doesn't it, between our emotional state and, our physical health.
Absolutely. And as we learn from the sources, Sarah's experience, it's not unique at all.
No, I imagine not.
So many people, often unknowingly, carry these invisible burdens of resentment. They're often unaware of the subtle but significant damage it's doing day to day.
And the sources even point to medical research on this, right?
Yes, exactly. Connecting prolonged anger and bitterness to quite significant health concerns.
Like what specifically?
Things like an increased risk of heart problems, a potentially compromised immune system,
Right.
and also a greater vulnerability to mental health struggles. Things like depression and anxiety. It just underscores the very real physiological toll.
It really drives home the point then that when we stay stuck in the past, resisting letting go,
We're the ones who bear the consequences.
mostly. Yeah. The person who caused the hurt, they might have completely moved on.
Precisely. So what we're really examining today is the alternative. Forgiveness.
Which is a choice.
A deliberate choice, yes.
Oh.
A conscious decision to reclaim our own inner peace and prioritize our freedom from that persistent pain.
Okay, so we get the impact of clinging to the past. Now, let's really dissect this idea of letting go, because like we said at the start, forgiveness is absolutely not about condoning harmful actions. It's not brushing them off as insignificant.
Not at all. What's particularly interesting to consider here is that forgiveness is, fundamentally about releasing the emotional hold that past wrongs have on you.
Ah, okay. So it's internal.
Yes. It's an active process. Untangling yourself from those negative emotions, like anger and resentment, that can feel incredibly binding,
It's almost like reclaiming agency over your own emotional state. Is that fair?
That's a great way to put it. You're no longer allowing those painful memories to dictate your present feelings.
You're cutting those invisible emotional cords, the ones tying you to what happened.
Exactly. The focus undergoes a complete shift. It moves away from the offender, the person who caused the hurt.
And onto yourself.
Onto your own well-being, yes. And your decision to move forward unburdened.
And the sources we looked at highlight some really significant benefits that come from this shift, don't they?
They really do. Tangible improvements. We're talking reduced stress hormones.
Which impacts blood pressure.
Can contribute to lower blood pressure, yes. And a more robust immune response. Some research even hints at a correlation with increased longevity.
Wow. And beyond the physical, what about emotionally?
Well, the positive effects are just as profound there. Forgiveness can be crucial in repairing damaged relationships.
Makes sense.
It opens up space for more authentic, meaningful connections. And it can significantly boost your own sense of self-respect and self-acceptance.
And this isn't just theory, is it? You mentioned studies.
Yeah, and the sources reference research from places like Stanford and Johns Hopkins University, really validating the positive impact of forgiveness-focused therapies.
On what specifically?
Specifically on mental health, showing reductions in symptoms of depression, anxiety, and even post-traumatic stress.
So if the benefits are so clear, why is it often so hard? That's the big question, isn't it?
It really is. And part of it, as the sources touch upon, is that we sometimes mistakenly believe that holding on to anger is somehow like administering justice.
Or protecting ourselves, maybe.
We're protecting ourselves, yes. But ultimately, as we've discussed, the primary impact is on our own well-being.
That's such a key distinction. And it helps us see that forgiveness isn't passive yielding. It's actually
quite the opposite. The sources present it as a genuine act of inner strength, a profound commitment to self-care, really.
So, okay, we've explored what forgiveness is, what it isn't, and its benefits. The natural next step is how. How does someone actually start this forgiveness journey?
Right. Because for many, the idea of forgiving a really deep hurt can feel, well, almost impossible. Like too big an ask.
Absolutely. It's easy to say just forgive, but the reality, as our sources acknowledge, is it's often deeply challenging, a multifaceted process.
And the sources highlight how normal it is to grapple with certain fears. Like the fear that forgiving means you're saying it was okay.
Well, that it leaves you vulnerable, that you might get hurt again.
Exactly. Those are very common, understandable feelings.
But forgiveness, as presented here, doesn't require forgetting, does it? Or excusing the behavior.
Not at all. The emphasis is instead on consciously redirecting your energy, shifting it towards your own healing.
And actively shaping how you want to live moving forward, independent of that past hurt.
Precisely.
So what about practical steps? Did the sources offer any concrete starting points for listeners?
Yes, they did offer some really concrete initial steps. One is the practice of journaling.
Just writing it down.
Just writing it down. Your feelings of hurt, anger, betrayal. It can be a powerful way to release some of that internal pressure, and maybe gain a fresh perspective.
Okay, that makes sense.
Anything else? Another valuable tool mentioned is incorporating mindfulness exercises.
Like meditation or just breathing.
Could be meditation, could be just taking short periods each day to focus on your breath, to acknowledge your emotions without judgment, just creating that space for healing to begin.
Creating space, I like that.
And also, it's really important to remember, you don't have to do this alone.
Right, seek support.
Exactly. The sources really emphasize the significance of that, whether it's talking to a trusted friend or a therapist, or maybe even connecting with a support group.
Where you can share with others who get it.
Sometimes just verbalizing your story, telling someone, can be a really powerful first step towards letting go.
And it's not always a one and done thing, is it?
No, definitely not. That's crucial. The sources point out forgiveness is rarely a singular event. It's much more like an ongoing journey.
So you might have to revisit it.
Yes. There may be times you feel you've forgiven, and then boom, the pain resurfaces. It might require revisiting those feelings and making that conscious choice again. Forgiving a little more deeply each time, perhaps.
And being kind to yourself during that process, I imagine.
Oh, absolutely. The sources strongly encourage self-compassion and patience. Healing takes time. It's rarely a straight line. Every small step is a victory.
Okay, so this leads us to the really transformative potential, right? Beyond just healing wounds.
Yes, exactly. The sources illustrate how releasing resentment can, fundamentally reshape the trajectory of your life.
And we go back to Sarah's story here.
We do, but with a different focus. Her journey of choosing to forgive her father for abandonment.
Which must have been incredibly difficult.
Immensely. Our sources detail the difficulty, the tears, the setbacks, the moments of doubt she faced. But ultimately, her success in letting go of that long-held resentment.
And what came out of that?
Well, what's particularly inspiring, as highlighted in the sources, is what emerged from her own healing. She went on to establish a nonprofit.
Really?
Yes, an organization dedicated to supporting young women. Her life's mission, in a really powerful way, grew directly from her own journey of forgiveness. Finding that inner peace.
That's incredible. And there was another story too, James.
Yes, James. He chose to forgive a business partner who had acted deceitfully, betrayed him.
Tough situation.
Very. But the sources underscore how letting go of that bitterness wasn't just about moving past the betrayal itself. It actually gave him the mental clarity, the emotional resilience.
To start again.
To start anew, yes. And he ultimately achieved success and, importantly, built new relationships based on trust, meaningful friendships.
So these examples really drive home that idea, don't they? Forgiveness isn't just about fixing the past.
No, it actively creates fertile ground for personal growth, for cultivating stronger, healthier relationships.
And ultimately just leading a more fulfilling life. So as you're listening to this, maybe take a moment. Some personal reflection might be good here. Is there someone in your life, maybe towards whom you're holding on to unresolved anger?
Or perhaps, as the sources also gently suggest, is there maybe a need to release some self-blame or past regrets you're holding on to?
It prompts a really important question, doesn't it, for you, the listener, to consider.
What might your life look like? What possibilities could open up if you were able to truly release the weight you've been carrying?
Imagine the energy you could reclaim, the peace you might find.
The path of forgiveness, as we've explored, yeah, it might present challenges. It probably will.
But as these stories and insights from our sources really powerfully convey the potential for profound personal transformation.
It's undeniably significant, but that potential lies within that choice.
So as you go about your day, maybe just consider this.
You have this continuous opportunity, really, to choose whether to remain bound by past hurts or to, well, begin the process of letting them go.
And that choice, while it's deeply personal,
It holds the key to unlocking profound change and ultimately a more liberated future. The journey of forgiveness, it's individual for sure, but is a powerful pathway towards greater well-being and lasting freedom.
If you like the podcast, make sure you subscribe for the next session.